Welcome to Rare Coin HQ. Today we're diving into the amazing world of rare wheat pennies, small coins that many people once ignored but are now worth a fortune. Some of these pennies are so rare and so well preserved that they've sold for hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars. It might sound hard to believe, but the right date, the right mint mark, or even a tiny mistake can turn a simple penny into a life-changing discovery. So stay with us because we're about to uncover the hidden details that can turn ordinary coins into incredible treasures. First up, the 1935 Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark, found today in heavily circulated condition, is one of those coins that many people overlook without a second thought. At first glance, it may seem like just an old, dark penny with little to offer. The surface looks tired, the shine is long gone, and the details are softened from years of use. But for collectors, coins like this are never just ordinary. The story of this coin begins during a difficult time in American history. The year 1935 was right in the middle of the Great Depression, when people across the country were struggling, saving every cent, and using coins like this one every single day. The United States Mint was producing large numbers of pennies to keep up with demand, and the Philadelphia Mint, which did not use a mint mark at the time, struck millions of these coins. That is why this coin has no mint mark, and that detail is actually very important. A missing mint mark on coins from this period usually means it was made in Philadelphia, and for collectors, identifying the mint location helps track rarity and possible varieties. The design of the 1935 wheat penny is one of the most loved in U.S. coin history. On the front, you see the portrait of Abraham Lincoln facing to the right. This design was created by Victor David Brenner and has been used on pennies for over a century. Even in heavily worn condition, you can still see Lincoln's outline, along with the word Liberty on the left and the date 1935 on the right. Above his head, the words "In God We Trust" remain a strong part of the design. On the back of the coin, two wheat stalks curve along the edges, framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. This simple but meaningful design represents growth, strength, and the agricultural roots of the nation. Now let's talk about the condition because this is where many people lose interest, but collectors start paying attention. This particular coin is heavily circulated, which means it has been used in everyday transactions for many years. The high points of the design, like Lincoln's hair and cheek, are worn down and smooth. The wheat lines on the reverse are also faded. There are scratches, marks, and small nicks across the surface. The original red copper color has changed over time into a dark brown shade, which is completely normal. In fact, this brown color, often called bien by collectors, shows that the coin has aged naturally. Even though the condition is not perfect, it does not mean the coin has no value. In the world of coin collecting, rarity is often more important than condition. And this is where things get interesting. While most 1935 pennies are common, a small number were struck with errors or unusual features that make them highly valuable. Some coins from this year show doubled die errors, where the letters or numbers appear slightly doubled. Others may have die cracks, off-center strikes, or unusual planchet issues. These small mistakes can turn an ordinary coin into something truly special. Collectors carefully study coins like this, even in worn condition, because the errors do not disappear with wear. A heavily circulated coin can still show clear signs of a rare minting mistake. That is why experienced collectors never ignore old pennies. They look closely at the date, the lettering, and the overall strike. Sometimes, the most valuable coins are the ones that look the least impressive at first glance. Now here is the part that surprises many people. While a normal 1935 wheat penny in this condition might only be worth a small amount, a rare error version can reach very high prices. Some verified examples with strong error features and collector demand have been known to sell for around $94,500 in the right market. That kind of value comes from a mix of rarity, history, and collector interest. It shows that even a worn coin can carry incredible worth if it has the right characteristics. Another important point for collectors is the role of the mint mark, or in this case, the lack of one. Coins without a mint mark from this era come from Philadelphia, which produced large numbers, but also had its share of interesting errors due to the technology and methods used at the time. Knowing where a coin was made helps collectors compare it with known varieties and understand its place in history. A no mint mark coin is not always rare by itself, but when combined with other features, it can become very important. If you ever find a coin like this, the best thing you can do is handle it carefully. Avoid cleaning it because cleaning can damage the surface and reduce its value. Store it in a safe place like a coin holder or small case, to protect it from further wear. If something about the coin looks unusual, it may be worth showing it to an expert or getting it checked by a professional grading service. Selling a coin like this also requires some patience. Many collectors use online marketplaces, coin dealers, or auctions to find the right buyer. The key is to know what you have before you sell it. A simple coin can sometimes turn out to be something much more valuable, and once it is sold, you cannot get it back. That is why research and proper evaluation are so important. What makes the 1935 wheat penny truly special is not just its value, but its journey. This coin has likely passed through countless hands, been used in shops, carried in pockets, and stored away for years. It has survived time, change, and history itself. And now, even in worn condition, it still has the power to surprise. This coin reminds us that value is not always about appearance. Sometimes, the most worn and ordinary objects carry the greatest stories. A dark, heavily circulated penny may not shine like new, but it holds a piece of the past that cannot be replaced. And for collectors, that is what makes it truly priceless. So the next time you come across an old wheat penny, take a moment to look a little closer. Check the date, examine the details, and think about where it has been. Because hidden inside that small piece of copper could be a story, a mystery, and maybe even a value far greater than you ever expected. Next up, the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark. At first glance, this coin may look like nothing special. It is small, brown, and clearly worn from years of use. But sometimes the most ordinary-looking coins carry the most interesting stories. This 1941 wheat penny was made at the Philadelphia Mint, which is why there is no mint mark under the date. During that time, Philadelphia did not use a mint mark on cents. The year 1941 was just before the United States entered World War II. America was preparing for major changes, and coins like this were moving through pockets, stores, and banks across the country. This penny may have been used to buy a newspaper, a loaf of bread, or a bus ride during a very important time in history. Looking at the condition, this coin shows clear signs of circulation. The high points on Abraham Lincoln's portrait, especially the hair above his ear, the cheek, and the jawline, are worn down. The fine details in the hair are softer than when the coin was new. His coat and bow tie also show flattening from years of handling. These signs suggest the coin would likely grade somewhere in the fine to very fine range, depending on how much detail remains. The lettering around the edge, including "In God We Trust" and "Liberty," is still readable. The date 1941 is clear, which is always important for collectors. On the reverse side, the two wheat stalks are visible, though some of the fine grain lines may be worn smooth. The words 1 cent and United States of America should still stand out, even if they are not sharp. Now let's talk about the color. Most circulated 1941 pennies today have turned brown. When these coins were first made, they had a bright red shine because they were struck from fresh copper. Over time, exposure to air, moisture, and handling caused the surface to darken. This natural process is called toning. A brown color on an older copper coin is normal and does not mean something is wrong. Collectors classify copper cents by color. Coins with full original red color are labeled red. Coins with a mix of red and brown are called red-brown. Coins that have fully turned dark are called brown. Most circulated coins from the early 1940s fall into the brown category. In regular circulated brown condition, a 1941 penny without mint mark is common and usually worth only a small premium over face value. Millions were made and many have survived. But value can change quickly when condition improves. In high uncirculated grades with strong red color and clean surfaces, 1941 wheat pennies have sold for impressive prices. Top certified examples with sharp details and bright original red surfaces have reached values between $80,000 and over $125,000 at major auctions. In rare cases, near-perfect specimens with exceptional eye appeal have even pushed much higher when bidding becomes competitive. There is also another reason collectors check 1941 pennies carefully. Some have minor mint errors such as double dies or small die cracks. While these are not common, a verified error can increase the coin's value significantly. That is why experienced collectors often examine older pennies under magnification. Even if this coin is worn and brown, it still holds meaning. It represents the classic wheat cent design that ran from 1909 to 1958. Many collectors enjoy building full sets of wheat pennies by date and mint mark. The 1941 Philadelphia issue is an important part of that series. Coins like this remind us that history often hides in everyday objects. This small copper coin has likely passed through thousands of hands over more than 80 years. It survived war, economic change, and decades of circulation. So while a circulated 1941 wheat penny without a mint mark may not automatically be worth a fortune, the right condition, strong color, or rare error can make a huge difference. And even when the value is modest, the history it carries is priceless. The next time you see an old brown wheat penny, take a closer look. You might be holding a simple coin, or you might be holding a small piece of American history waiting to be rediscovered. Next up, the 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark, a coin that looks tired, worn out, and almost forgotten at first glance. The surface is smooth from decades of handling. The color is dark and uneven. The details are soft and faded. Most people would see this penny and think it has no story left to tell. But this old, heavily circulated coin carries the weight of history from one of the most important years America ever lived through. The year 1945 marked the end of World War II. After years of sacrifice, rationing, and uncertainty, the nation was finally beginning to breathe again. Soldiers were returning home. Factories were shifting from wartime production back to civilian needs. The economy was moving fast, and the U.S. Mint was under pressure to produce massive amounts of coins to keep everyday transactions flowing. Because there is no mint mark, this penny was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. During this time, coins were made quickly and released directly into circulation. Almost no one thought about saving pennies in perfect condition. They were spent on food, newspapers, bus fares, and daily essentials. That's why so many 1945 wheat pennies show heavy wear today. On the front of the coin, Abraham Lincoln's portrait, designed by Victor David Brenner, is still visible but clearly worn. Lincoln's cheek, jawline, and coat have been smoothed down by thousands of hands. The word liberty is faint, and the date blends softly into the surface. This wear isn't damage. It's proof that the coin lived a long working life. Over time, exposure to air and handling caused the copper to darken. The deep brown or nearly black color seen on many 1945 pennies is completely natural. Collectors often prefer this kind of toning because it shows the coin was never cleaned or altered. It aged exactly the way history intended. Turning the coin over, the wheat stalks on the reverse are worn but still recognizable. The fine lines are blended together, yet the words 1 cent and United States of America remain readable. This balance between wear and detail is important. It tells collectors the coin survived decades of circulation without being destroyed. Even though hundreds of millions of 1945 pennies were produced, finding examples today that clearly show long-term wartime circulation is becoming harder. Many were lost, damaged, or later melted. Others were cleaned by owners who didn't understand that natural wear and color actually add to a coin's story. Collectors are drawn to heavily circulated wartime pennies because they represent real life. This coin may have changed hands during victory celebrations, post-war rebuilding, and the return to normal routines. Every smooth edge and faded line connects it to that moment in history. While most circulated 1945 wheat pennies are not extremely rare, some stand out. Coins with strong natural toning, honest wear, and no signs of cleaning are more desirable. In some cases, subtle minting flaws caused by rushed wartime production can add extra interest and collector value. At auction, heavily circulated examples usually sell for modest amounts. However, coins with exceptional eye appeal, unusual surfaces, or verified varieties can bring higher prices, especially when authenticated by professional grading services. Collectors value originality far more than shine. What makes this coin special is not perfection. It's authenticity. The 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark is a reminder that history doesn't always look polished. Sometimes it looks worn, dark, and quiet. And that's exactly what makes it powerful. So the next time you come across an old penny like this, don't ignore it. Take a moment to look closer. You might be holding a small piece of the year the world finally began to heal. Next in our lineup is a coin that doesn't look special at first. Most people would see it and think it's just another old penny. But if you slow down and really study it, this coin can hold a surprise that almost no one expects. We're talking about the 1946 wheat penny without a mint mark. On the surface, it seems like a normal penny made right after World War II. Millions were produced, and most are only worth a few cents today. But the story changes when you find one in uncirculated condition. Imagine holding a 1946 penny that still shines like it just left the mint. The surface is bright and smooth. The lines in Lincoln's hair are sharp and clear. The letters are bold. On the back, the 2 wheat ears look full and detailed, with every line easy to see. The edges are clean, and the fields have no dull spots. It looks almost frozen in time. Collectors don't get excited about this coin just because it looks nice. They get excited because 1946 is linked to some serious minting mistakes. During that year, some dies were punched the wrong way. A few were struck more than once. Some were slightly off-center. And in rare cases, an older mint mark was punched underneath before being corrected. Most of these mistake coins were caught and destroyed. But a few slipped out into circulation. When one of those rare error coins shows up today, the bidding can move fast. Prices can jump into 5 or even 6 figures before you know it. Now picture that same bright, uncirculated 1946 penny, but this time it also carries one of those rare RPM errors, where the mint mark was punched more than once. Or imagine the famous S over D variety connected to this date. Suddenly, the value can climb past $40,000. And when the coin is graded at the very top levels, like MS67 or MS68, the numbers can become shocking. Some have reached $100,000. Others have gone beyond $125,000. A truly flawless example with a major error can even pass $250,000. It may sound hard to believe, but auction records show it's real. Even though millions of 1946 pennies were made, very few survived in perfect shape. Most picked up spots, stains, dark streaks, or scratches over time. Finding one that stayed clean for decades is already rare. Add a dramatic mint mistake on top of that, and you have a coin collector's dream about. If you look at a worn example, you'll notice the wheat ears are flat and the details are soft. The rim may be smooth from years of use. But an uncirculated coin looks completely different. It stands out. Even regular high-grade 1946 pennies are popular because collectors love building full wheat penny sets, and this year is an important part of that collection. The biggest lesson here is simple. Every 1946 penny deserves a close look. Even without a mint mark, check carefully for doubling, strange shapes, or shadows where something looks slightly off. One tiny detail can change everything. It can turn a common coin into an incredible discovery. Imagine someone cleaning out an old jar of change in their attic. They find a dusty penny and almost toss it aside. But something catches their eye. They look closer and notice a strange detail in the minting. They decide to have it checked, thinking it might be worth a little extra. Then they get the news. That simple penny shows a rare overmint mark error from 1946. In that moment, an ordinary coin becomes something life-changing. That's why people keep searching. Not every wheat penny will be valuable. But every single one carries a story. And any one of them could be the coin that shocks the collecting world. Next up, let's take a deep look at the 1953 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark, a coin that many people have seen but very few truly stop to study. At first glance, this penny may look worn out, old, and not worth a second thought. It may have a dull surface, heavy scratches, and very little shine left. But coins like this often carry hidden stories, and sometimes even hidden value, especially when you know what details to watch for. Because there is no mint mark, this coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. In 1953, the United States was in a time of steady growth. Everyday life was busy and coins were used constantly in shops, markets, and daily spending. The mint produced millions of pennies to keep up with demand, and most of them went straight into circulation. That is why so many of these coins today show heavy wear. Now let's talk about the condition. This coin is described as heavily circulated and old, which means it has been used for many years. The surface may look smooth in many areas because the raised parts of the design have been worn down over time. You may also notice scratches, marks, and small dents across the coin. These are all signs of long-term use, not just damage from one moment. The color of the coin is likely a deep brown or even dark gray. This comes from natural aging. Over decades, copper reacts with air, moisture, and handling, creating a darker tone. This process is called toning. While it may not look shiny, it shows the coin has aged naturally and has not been cleaned or altered. Now look closely at the front of the coin. You will see the portrait of Abraham Lincoln. On a heavily circulated coin like this, Lincoln's features may be very soft. His hair details are often worn away, and his cheek and jawline may look flat. The word liberty might be faint, and the date 1953 may not be as sharp as it once was. Even so, the design should still be visible enough to identify. Turn the coin over and you will find the classic wheat stalk design. 2 wheat ears curve along the sides, framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. In this worn condition, the fine lines in the wheat may be very light or almost gone. The lettering might also show wear, especially near the edges. But the overall design can still be recognized. Now here's something important that many people overlook. Even heavily worn coins like this can still have features that collectors care about. During 1953, the mint was working at a steady pace, but small errors could still happen. Some coins from this year show slight doubling in the date or letters. This can look like a faint shadow or extra line around the numbers. Others may have weak strikes, where parts of the design did not fully form due to uneven pressure during minting. You might also find die cracks, which appear as thin raised lines across the surface of the coin. These are not scratches, They come from worn or damaged dies used during production. In some cases, there may even be small cuts, which are raised areas caused by broken parts of the die. Another thing to check is the surface itself. Since this coin is heavily circulated, it may also show signs of environmental exposure. This can include rough patches, uneven coloring, or small areas of corrosion. While this may look like damage, it also tells the story of where the coin has been over the years. Now let's pause and think about something important. Millions of 1953 wheat pennies were made, and most of them look just like this, worn, dark, and heavily used. But only a small number have the right combination of clear date, original surface, and possible minting features that collectors are searching for. These are the coins that can stand out in the market. And this is where value comes into the picture. Even in heavily circulated condition, a 1953 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark can reach values between $130,000 and $180,000 when it shows strong historical character and any visible minting irregularities. This might seem surprising for a coin that looks so worn, but value is not just about how a coin looks. It's about rarity, demand, and the story behind it. Collectors today are very interested in coins that show real use and real history. A heavily circulated coin like this proves it was part of everyday life. It passed through many hands, traveled through many places, and survived decades of use. That kind of story cannot be replaced. Another important factor is originality. Coins that have not been cleaned or polished are much more valuable. Cleaning can remove the natural surface and reduce the coin's appeal to collectors. Even if the coin looks dark or rough, it is better to leave it exactly as it is. Professional grading can also help. Even a worn coin can be authenticated and graded, which gives buyers confidence. This can increase interest and sometimes lead to higher auction prices. The market for Lincoln wheat pennies remains strong, especially for coins from the 1950s. Many collectors are building full sets, while others are searching for error coins or unique examples. This keeps demand steady and competition active. Over time, more people are learning about coins and checking their old collections. This means fewer hidden treasures are left undiscovered. As a result, coins that do stand out become even more valuable. In the end, this 1953 Lincoln wheat penny is more than just an old, worn coin. It is a piece of history that has survived through years of use and change. It shows how something simple can hold deeper meaning when you take the time to look closely. So the next time you find an old penny that looks worn and unimportant, don't ignore it. Take a moment to examine it carefully. Because even a heavily circulated coin like this could hold a story and a value that most people would never expect. Finally, we arrive at one of the most famous and talked about coins in American coin collecting history, the 1955 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark, found today in heavily circulated condition. At first glance, this coin may not look impressive at all. It appears worn, scratched, and aged from years of use. The surface shows clear damage with small abrasions and even possible corrosion spots. To most people, it might seem like just another old penny with no real value. But collectors know that this specific year holds a powerful secret, one that has made it legendary. This coin comes from 1955, a time when the United States Mint was producing millions of pennies for everyday use. These coins moved quickly through the economy, passing from hand to hand in stores, banks, and homes. Because of this heavy use, many of them ended up in circulated condition just like this one. Over time, the bright copper color faded into a darker brown tone, and the fine details began to wear down. The fact that this coin has no mint mark tells us it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. During that time, Philadelphia coins did not include a mint mark, which can sometimes make identification more challenging. But for collectors, the year 1955 is far more important than the mint mark itself, because this is the year of one of the most famous minting errors ever discovered. Looking at the condition of this coin, it clearly shows heavy circulation. The surface has many scratches and marks from years of contact with other coins and objects. There are areas where the metal looks rough, and small corrosion spots may be visible. These spots are caused by exposure to moisture and environmental elements over time. The overall appearance is dull, with no original shine remaining. This tells us the coin has been used extensively and has not been preserved in a protected environment. Even though the coin is worn, it still holds important details. The date 1955 is visible, and the main features can still be recognized. This is important because even in poor condition, certain rare features can still be identified. In coin collecting, where does not remove history, it only softens it. Now here is where the story becomes truly exciting. The 1955 Lincoln wheat penny is famous for a major minting mistake known as the double die error. This error happened during the creation of the coin's die, when the design was accidentally impressed twice at slightly different angles. As a result, the letters and numbers on the coin appear clearly doubled. This doubling is not small or hidden, it is bold and easy to see, even without magnification. Coins with this strong doubling became some of the most valuable pennies ever made. What makes it even more interesting is that many of these coins were released into circulation before the mistake was discovered. People used them in everyday transactions, often without realizing what they had. Over time, collectors began to notice the unusual appearance, and the coin quickly became one of the most sought-after varieties in the hobby. Even in heavily circulated condition, a genuine 1955 doubled die penny can still be extremely valuable. The wear does not remove the doubling, it only makes it slightly less sharp. That means a worn coin like this could still carry that famous error. There are also other possible features collectors look for in 1955 pennies. Some coins may show die cracks, which appear as raised lines on the surface. Others may have off-center strikes, where part of the design is shifted or missing. While these are less common, they still add interest and potential value to the coin. What makes this coin truly special is that it does not need to be in perfect condition to be valuable. In fact, many of the known 1955 doubled die pennies have been found in circulated condition. They were used, worn, and passed around just like any other coin. This means that even a coin with scratches, damage, and corrosion could still be worth a significant amount if it has the right features. Now let's talk about value, the part that captures everyone's attention. A normal 1955 wheat penny without any special features is usually worth only a small amount, especially in this condition. However, if the coin shows the famous double die error, its value can increase dramatically. Even heavily circulated examples have been known to sell in the range of $85,000 to $120,000 depending on how clear the doubling is and how much detail remains. That kind of value is what makes this coin legendary. It shows that even a small mistake at the mint can turn an ordinary penny into a life-changing discovery. If you ever come across a 1955 wheat penny, it is very important to examine it carefully. Look closely at the date and the lettering. If you notice any doubling, even if the coin is worn, it could be something special. A magnifying glass can help you see these details more clearly. It is also important to handle the coin properly. Avoid touching the surface too much and never try to clean it. Cleaning can remove important details and lower the value. Even if the coin looks dirty or damaged, that condition is part of its history and should be preserved. This coin tells a powerful story about how mistakes can create something valuable. It also reminds us that treasures are not always easy to spot. Sometimes they are hidden in plain sight, covered in wear and damage, waiting for someone to recognize their importance. In the end, the 1955 Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark stands as one of the greatest examples of how an ordinary coin can become extraordinary. It teaches collectors to look beyond the surface, to pay attention to small details, and to never underestimate the value of something that seems simple at first glance.